So obviously I've gone from having natural dreadlocks 17 years to going to no dreadlocks and ultimately leading to getting synthetic braiding extension dreadlocks. And there's a massive shift between those positions. When you first get rid of your dreadlocks, the first thing you'll notice is your scalp feels so different, particularly when your hair's wet, especially that first shower, that first wash. The biggest thing that happens is the tension release on your scalp. Now, having dreadlocks, there's a lot of weight that's added. The amount of hair that's concentrated in a certain area, when it's sort of hanging from your head, the tension that that creates in a particular area is a lot heavier. So when you remove your dreadlocks, all that tension is going to be released. It's going to feel a lot lighter, especially when hair gets wet. When dreadlocks get wet, it adds a lot of weight. Physically speaking, you'll certainly notice the weight difference. Another thing that happens is your space perception with your hair. Your shoulders feel a bit freer. This is something that I've personally experienced. I'm not sure if that translates to everyone. So physically speaking, that's certainly been the case for me. Psychologically speaking, when you get rid of your dreadlocks, there's a transition that happens. It was only the other week we were speaking to the makeup artist who's just published her book, Millie Varda. To quote her, said, "When I got dreadlocks, I felt more me." And so there's this sort of psychological thing that happens. I feel different and therefore I project myself in a different way. People treat you very differently. If you present yourself in a certain way, people treat you in the way that you're presented. You may not notice exactly what it is, but subconsciously you'll recognise that there's a shift. And you'll be so used to being treated in a certain way through having dreadlocks that when you don't have them, again, there'll be a subconscious notice that you will take. I've always been quite into different trends, different fashion styles, and exploring different looks. One of the things I noticed going from dreadlocks to not having dreadlocks or putting extensions in, there was a transition there as well. If we think of someone who wears a suit, for example, and goes to work in an office, we may speak to them in a particular way, perhaps a professional manner, and the context of which is going to be very different from someone that has dreadlocks and is carrying a guitar on their back. If it's the case that you're getting dreadlocks for an image fashionable approach, then generally it's something that you're a lot more aware of. A lot of people have that motivation where they don't want to buy into fashion. And if that's you, it may be the case that you think, well, people shouldn't treat me differently. I'm stepping out of that. That's just the way it goes. Whether you are getting rid of your dreadlocks to have extensions, or if you're getting rid of your dreadlocks just to not have dreadlocks, the styles change. You'll notice that you will go from a certain style that worked with dreadlocks, that worked particularly with dreadlocks perhaps, to going to things that just work across the board. One thing that I noticed, certain styles that would work with particular types of dreadlocks, so if you're free-forming, they're a lot more unkempt, for example, then there's certain clothes that will go with that style. They tend to lean towards a certain colour palette, and particularly in the festival culture, you'll see people that have sort of very kind of leathery colours, earthy colours, very sort of browns, greens, yellows. These are very popular, particularly, the kind of tribal look, I suppose, tends to be the trend and the fashion. One example I had was, in the movie Matrix, the Zion land, unplugged. You notice the clothes are kind of quite raw material. It's very similar to that of people with dreadlocks, particularly in the sort of freeform culture, or natural dreadlocks, that kind of thing. If you have very neat, tidy dreadlocks, the options for what you can wear with that tend to be a lot wider. Whereas people with extensions, whether that's synthetic extensions with different colours and things like this, they tend to be more brightly coloured styles and a wider range of variations. So obviously the next step for me is dreadlock extensions. I want to try different colours and styles and explore different things. So if you want to keep updated with that, then subscribe to the channel. Also on this channel, as well as the weekly videos, there's the monthly Dreads UK e-zine. So that's the monthly magazine. It will key in with with our YouTube channel here, with Twitter, with Facebook, with Instagram. We've just started using Twitter again more regularly, so getting involved in conversations there, that's been a lot of fun. So you can subscribe to us there. But the main thing is, if you want to stay tuned, then sign up to our e-zine on the website. So that's www.dreadsuk.com, and stay tuned.